Still lifes, part 2, using crayons. We did a really good job on the first one. Bloop, bloop. Look at that. Looks so good. We've got that nice reflective light. We have the nice highlights coming in on this side. I mean, you could always go back in and add a little bit more. Right? Make it look super highlighty. Just like that. All right, now we're going to use this candy and draw this candy the best that we can. Okay, so I'm going to set the candy up here and I'm going to draw it right in the middle of my paper. And I have a lot of different shades of red. There's red, it's red orange, there's red, there's something called wild strawberry, which just looks like red, and then there's a red violet. And those are the reds that I'm going to start with first. And just like how we added the highlights on our orange with the white, I'm going to do that as well with white on top of the red. Now, the first thing you're going to tell me is that this shape is a circle. Is that shape a circle? Look at it. What do you think? If you said it's a circle, I want you to... You're right. I mean, the candy's a circle, but the outside of the candy, that plastic that's pulling it, kind of makes it look a little bit squared on the edges. It has this like little reflection happening inside of this clear plastic. And so when we're drawing this, we have to use our artist's eye, and we have to make sure our mind doesn't trick us into thinking, okay, this is definitely a circle, because it's not, right? And a circle is flat, right? So if you're going to draw a circle, you draw a little red circle like that, and that's a circle. It's flat. It's two-dimensional. But our candy is not two-dimensional, right? If you pick this up and you move it around, it has shape, it has volume, it has a full heavy mass. You can feel the weight of this candy. So when I'm drawing and I'm sitting down, the angle that I'm seeing is the side of the candy, right? I'm looking at it from the side now that I'm sitting down. The camera's looking straight down at it, so what I draw might look a little bit different from what you see. Okay, if you have a candy, it doesn't matter what kind, in your house, you can take the wrapper off and that would be easier to draw, but it's a little bit less challenging, and who does not love a challenge? Okay, so we have our circle. Now, it's not totally a circle, right? It's kind of being pulled over here, and then there's like a hard edge up here where it's like darker right here in the center. Right? This is just the color red, and then in my other hand I'm holding violet red. And I'll grab scarlet, which is like a red-orange. Alright, so now this kind of comes around like this, and there's some pulls, right? I'm trying to look at this because I know when I layer white over the red, it's going to do the same thing that's happening over here on the orange, where we can see little bits of white, but this is actually white. Like, this is not a lighter shade of red. This is white. So I'm gonna end up leaving some spaces for a while, and then I'll probably end up layering it. I mean, knowing me. And again, if you have oil pastels, this is probably going to be much easier for you to use oil pastels. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of a layer here, and I'm gonna try not to push down too hard because I don't want to break my crayon. I will break my crayon. I mean, I break them so often because I have these heavy hands. I'm very heavy-handed here. Okay. Now that I have what I'm just taking my eyes, I'm looking at little parts, little bits and pieces of this at a time, and coming back and adding more red. I didn't want to color in the whole red circle because we have those white spots that we need to stay white, or those lighter spots. Okay. Some of this doesn't look totally white. It looks a little pink, so I'm just taking the violet red and going around the edges here, make sure I can get the most out of this, because some of this plastic, even though in my head I know it's clear and I know that the reflection from the light off the white paper makes it look white, it actually has a little layer of pink and white around it. So I'm just drawing really lightly just around the edges of this candy to kind of look like a wrapper. Okay. All right. Now, in order for me to remember that there are pieces that are white, now this white, you just saw me add that extra highlight on the orange right when the video started. There's orange left on the white. So you can take your fingernail and just push gently along the edge, and you'll get all of that color off of there, and get a nice clean crayon here so that we don't get any orange. We're not blending anything, right? If your crayon is not sharp on this side, you can use this back end of your crayon and give that like a nice sharp edge with your fingernail or a pair of scissors. Be careful though. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and anywhere where I know there's white on here, where I can see white, I'm gonna go over with the white and just add those lines. This kind of blends the red crayon underneath. It naturally blends when you start layering it. So I want to make sure I'm only putting this white where it belongs. I don't want to add anything extra because I don't want it to look too cloudy. All right, now I can't make this paper any whiter. I mean, I could add as much white crayon on here as I possibly want to, but you're not going to be able to see it. So for me to give the illusion of this wrapper, what I did on this last page in my sketchbook was I used gray. Okay, so I'm going to use gray again. This is a really light gray, and draw the wrapper. Just the edges. Now I'm actually looking at the edges of the wrapper and I'm drawing really lightly. Now you could do this with a pencil. You don't have to use crayon. I mean, just because we started using crayon doesn't mean you have to finish using crayon. Same thing with paintings. You don't have to finish it. Now we're going to go over and around the edges. This kind of twists up. And then there's like a little piece in the back there. Now, this is going to be really hard, and this is something that only 5th graders may be able to do, but I suggest anybody who's watching this video can try it. Anyone younger than that. You're going to look at the wrapper, and my wrapper is clear. So I'm anywhere where it's not white, I'm going to color gray. Anywhere where it's not white, from the light reflecting in it, I'm going to color that gray. Okay. Make sure you don't color the whole thing, right? Because there's definitely some white on there. Same thing over here. This is gray. And then there's some spots where there's no gray, and this is gray. Kind of goes around like that. There's my candy. Looks pretty good. We're going to go around with white just around the edges of the gray again. Now, if you were using construction paper, this would probably be a lot easier because you could actually just use white on a colorful piece of paper. But since I don't know if anybody has construction paper at home, we are going to just use this notebook because I do know that you guys have notebook paper at home, or you should. And if you don't, you need to contact me so we can get you some. Go back to red. This is not all the way white here, so we're just gonna fill this back in a little bit. Just going back in. You can always layer. I mean, I could sit here probably for a few hours and draw on the same little piece of notebook paper for so long. hey, I could. But you might not have that kind of attention span, or you might not have that kind of time. So we're just going to shorten this video up as the best that we can. All right, go ahead and layering with a darker red just on the very top. You could even use like a light purple and kind of layer that up here anywhere where it's like really dark, so that we know where those edges and those highlights are. Okay. Too pink. That's all right. And then we'll add some white. Here. Here. Okay. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is add that shadow again. Now, this time, it's going to be a little bit different, and it's a little tricky, and I messed up on the last page, and I'm not even going to bother showing you that, but same as before, I'm going to go around with a black crayon around the edge here. Really lightly with that black. It'll help that white kind of pop out. Now I can see the shadow on the other side as well. So I'm going to go really lightly, bring it in. Okay. And there's a light shadow over here, so that's going to be a little bit tricky to do if you're not using black and gray. And there's one inside here. Same thing over here. Now these shadow lines, they don't make sense. I know they don't make sense. I mean, seriously, they don't make any sense at all. But I'm just doing what I see. I'm just drawing what I see and hoping for the best, and just going to go back over it with some white and really just hope that this turns out looking like a piece of candy, right? And it's my second time doing this, so I can't beat myself up about it, right? If you want to be good at something, you have to do it about 10,000 times. 10,000, not 10. 10,000 times. Okay, that's it. That was the candy. What do you think? Pretty good? It's alright. Alright, in the next video, I'll show you how to draw a pencil with crayon. A still life.